Big E. Could he be on the move in WWE? Could he be going from the blue brand to the red brand? WWE draft moves already being talked about in the wrestling world. We have plenty to get into. We are a few weeks away from WWE being in front of live audiences yet again, and so much more. Plus, your questions answered live. It's Sportskeeda Wrestling's top story of the day. Hit the thumbs up button. Ho! Watch out, watch out, watch out, watch out! Watch out, watch out, watch out, watch out. What's up, everybody? Oh, I'm Jose G. G.
Oh, you know. There we go.
There we go. Click one button over. That is Jose _G_ official. And I am Kev Kellam. You can follow us on the Twitter machine. Also follow SK at wrestling _ if you haven't already. A lot going on, lot to follow if you haven't done already. Our Sportskeeda YouTube channel. Right down there. I can see all of you watching this right now. If you're watching right now and you're on Facebook, check out our YouTube channel. Going to be a little bit of shift coming up soon. All right. It's going to be a little bit of a shifteroonie. All right. As we're going to move some of our shows exclusively over to YouTube. So you want to make sure you go over to our YouTube channel and subscribe. We are just a few subscribers away from 18,000. So thank you very, very much.
Just this much. Just
almost there. It's 2.5. The shoulder's up, you know. Help us get there. Let's get into it. Let's get into it here. There's a lot of big news to cover here, specifically with WWE making what I believe is a necessary draft. I know they've had a lot of shakeups and different things, but with the pandemic, I think they've kind of ran a lot of different pairings on Raw and SmackDown out for WWE. Fans getting a little frustrated.
That's right.
I actually think this draft time makes sense. It requires a big shakeup here. And I think it's a smart thing to do. And one big name that could be on the move and could cause the New Day to be together on the same show yet again is Big E. Big E in a possible talk of moving from Friday Night SmackDown to Monday Night Raw. This is from WrestleVotes. What's the scoop, Jose?
Yeah, man. So WrestleVotes is at it again with another big story, this time involving Big E. So according to WrestleVotes today, he broke the news a little bit earlier today that he's having some sources say that WWE is considering the idea of moving Big E from SmackDown to Raw in this year's draft. Now, in the actual tweet, he does say...
No, wait, you got it?
I got it right here.
Sorry.
In the tweet, he does say, I have heard from a few sources an idea of making rounds, Big E moving to SmackDown to Raw in the post SummerSlam draft, while still being pushed as a singles competition. In essence, New Day will be back together without necessarily being a team. Mm-hmm. So if so, E will be a fresh face for the Raw main event scene. Now, I think this is a great idea. I think Raw can use that, the talent in that upper echelon, the main event scene. Right now, it's kind of getting fizzled out. But just because Big E is being considered being moved to Raw doesn't necessarily mean he's going to be in the tag team division. He can be, again, back to the powerhouse and still being pushed as a single star. But with Kofi Kingston now being back in the main event scene, going for a title, what does that mean?
Fans chiming in. We have people with us all the time who are saying, they're going to bring back the New Day's going to be back together. Some people say the New Day gimmick is old already. I don't know. I do think New Day is one of those groups that I don't know if they ever need to break them up, specifically if you have them on different brands and they're still connected. That bond they had at WrestleMania 35, breaking up factions, I don't think you have to do it because it's already been done so many different times. Armando is texting and saying, I don't understand why everyone is so adamant that E can't get a single run and be a part of the New Day. Kofi did it just fine. What do you think? Can they do this, or do they have to put these guys back together as a collective? I think you can do what they're doing now, where Kofi's going to have a run at Lashley. A lot of people don't think he's going to win that belt, but he's going to have a shot at that title. A lot of people think they could do something different with Xavier Woods. Xavier Woods was in the main event of Raw this week.
Absolutely. Xavier Woods has proved time and time again that he can go in the ring when he needs to go. And he put on an awesome performance at Hell in a Cell, inside Hell in a Cell on Monday. Now, why isn't Xavier getting some type of a singles push like in the United States Championship picture? Why isn't he getting something like that? Kofi's getting something. Give Xavier something. Something's, I don't know, something's up there. But I think putting Big E back in the Monday Night Raw picture, I think that's good, not only for Monday nights, but you'll also get the New Day back together so they can do bits together and they can do stuff separately. It's been proven that it can happen and it can work.
Roadwall Matthew on our Periscope stream. We're streaming on Twitter as well. If you guys haven't done it already, go ahead and give us a follow at SK Wrestling _. He says, imagine a heel turn by Big E and challenging Kofi for the WWE title if Kofi indeed wins in the future. You know, a lot of people have said that they want a heel turn of some kind. I think you could still do that and they could be pals, but that would be a one-off. Then you have your face thing. Is that as interesting as, you know, keeping them together in the same faction? I think it could be done. I don't know. I just think breaking up a faction is so redundant. You know what I mean? Like it's just treaded territory, you know? Like I get where it makes sense. Oh, betrayal. How could you, my brother? E2, Brutus? E2, Biggie? You know, you know, like that type of thing. E2. So I don't know. I'm intrigued. I definitely think Big E could be on the move, but I also think he has some things left to do on SmackDown. I think he never got that run at Roman Reigns. I know we've been discussing who is the next person that Roman Reigns could take on because he's basically obliterated everybody on SmackDown that could step up to him. Cesaro, he took out Rey Mysterio. Rey Mysterio and the Mysterios may have to drop the tag belts. They're so beat up right now by him. We went through all the different challengers. Kevin Owens is on the shelf now. We went through all these different people on this run now as the head of the table. A lot of people anticipate maybe John Cena coming back for a run against him at SummerSlam, and we don't even know what the direction is for Roman Reigns going into Money in the Bank. I think it'll be something with his cousins, the Usos. So we'll see what happens. But in that regard, if Roman Reigns is busy and it doesn't seem like Big E is in that slot. Plus, you had the issue with Big E being slotted with Aleister Black, and then Aleister Black gets dropped by WWE. There's a lot of shakeup for him, but he still has that momentum. You know, coming into WrestleMania, people thought, like, oh, he's got the Intercontinental Championship. Maybe they'll give him the run at Reigns. You know, there was some talk of that in January, and it went a different direction. And I still think we had a fun match at WrestleMania with Reigns and the Triple Threat. I don't know. It's just some shakeup, some circumstantial things. I think, you know, Big E on Raw would be a kick in the ass for that show, and it really needs it. Raw really needs some fresh combinations.
Agreed. Absolutely. Monday Night Raw does need a kick in the butt, and I think Big E is that kick in Raw's butt that it needs.
Jose saying you should turn heel. We have Tom saying you should turn heel. Don't turn heel on me, bud. Come on. Don't do that. Don't do that. That's not necessary. Joe wants to know what's up with SmackDown. So if SmackDown loses Big E, who goes over there? We can start talking some draft moves now. We don't know exactly when the WWE draft is going to be. It does look like one is in the works. It does look like one is needed too. When you look at how much content WWE produces, that's a real thick book of stories. So you end up doing a lot of pairings. You end up burning out a lot of different things here. A lot of people think there could be a shakeup here. I think Drew McIntyre could move. I think Drew McIntyre on SmackDown makes sense. He's kind of, like I said, treaded territory on Raw. Some new combinations for him would be cool. Big E on Raw would make sense. I think Kevin Owens on Raw would make sense, even though he's going to be on the shelf for a while. I do think they need some fresh, definitely some fresh female combinations on SmackDown and Raw, vice versa. Charlotte over there would make sense. It'll be interesting to see how this goes. I think this is a critical draft for WWE. They always are, but especially now because you're also going to define your touring divisions. You're going to define what different shows are appealing for fans to go and buy tickets to, which is a challenge that WWE is going to have to re-embrace yet again.
Yeah, and I think it's also going to be very strategic now that we're going to be, back with the live crowds, different cities, just like you said, with the touring dates. So I think both USA and Fox are going to be very strategic, especially USA, since they always get 3 picks on every WWE draft. They're going to have to really find out what is going to bring eyes to the red brand on Monday nights. Mm-hmm. And Big E is definitely one of them. Shinsuke Nakamura is another one. Roman Reigns, you could bring Roman Reigns to Monday nights. Roman hasn't been on Monday night in 3 years. So
I don't know if USA, I don't know if USA is going to want to lose Roman right now.
Well,
you're not the only one saying that here.
Fox doesn't want to lose Roman, but let's be real though. Even though USA has in my opinion, seniority here. I mean, USA's been with Raw since the very get. They had a little break when they went to TNN. Remember TNN back in early 2000s? Then they went back to USA. So I think USA's got a lot of claim here. I think USA can claim that.
I challenge you, if you're watching live, to get us towards that 50 plateau. You can use those buttons a handful of times. Maybe you don't want to comment. Let us know with a thumbs up. Hey, I like that idea. That's a cool idea. Or I think that's funny. Or I actually think Kevin's face is aggressively unattractive, and I want to press a button that says that I don't like that face. You can go ahead and do that. All right? You can go ahead and do that. We're talking early WWE draft rumors here, as it's possible that WrestleVotes is telling us that Big E could be on the move. I like this one here. Joseph is texting in saying, what about Ricochet? I think there's some mid-card moves with a guy like Ricochet, him on SmackDown. You know, that's another thing to think about too. When you're on SmackDown, there's another 3,000 or 4,000 people that are seeing you on average now. Like based on WWE's audience compared to Monday Night Raw, the show's tighter. The show's still alive, but they have a lot of exciting matches and they have some really good combinations. I think Ricochet could be for a move. I think there's some undercard guys I think could really benefit from a change. I think Ricochet on that show would make sense. I think maybe a shakeup of the champions if they flip those mid-card titles. So I think the whole thing is possible. This could be a really aggressive, real flipping of the table for WWE come this belt this time here. Someone saying Ricochet needs a belt. That's what threw me off here.
Yeah, I think a shakeup with the belts is also a good idea. You know, move the Universal back to Monday nights, bring back the red belt. Do you think we see the red belt back again on Monday nights? If that happens, move the WWE Championship over back to SmackDown.
And now people want you and I in a strap match. You know, Roll Wall wants you and I versus each other in a strap match. All right. We're gonna do a Florida versus Illinois strap match, brother. All right.
I'm from the deep south, bro. I do some crazy ass shit, bro. I'm from Florida.
Oh, because you're from Florida. I'm sorry.
Florida. I'm from Florida.
You were raised among
the matter of fact, I'm a Florida Rican. A Puerto Rican from Florida. Dude. Ten cuidado.
Excuse me, South side of Chicago? Okay. I know how to ride a train with my hands in my pockets, sir. No, so we're jumping right into it here. Nick Batson with more moves that we're talking about here with a possible WWE draft coming at some point in this second chunk here of 2021. Nick Batson say, I'd love to see Roman Reigns to Raw, then Brock Lesnar returns and the feud begins. It'd be interesting. I mean, Roman would be the biggest move they can make in terms of shaking the the permanent players that are there right now. John Cena, Rock, those guys, they're going to come in for SummerSlam. I don't know what show they're going to land on. But one of those guys is going to have to do something on Monday Night Raw. You can't just have everyone do that. You can't just everyone show up on SmackDown. But.
There's a lot of people already starting to talk about Rock coming back even earlier than Survivor Series. I mean, this is, rumblings that I'm hearing and that I'm reading around.
The initial report that we've had is that he will be a part of W's presentation of Madison Square Garden or Barclays Center. It seems like they're leaning towards Barclays Center in New York City with The Rock doing the 25th anniversary of his WWE debut.
Correct. So, with people speculating that The Rock will be back as soon as SummerSlam, which I don't think that's going to happen. People are already starting to talk about John Cena versus Drew McIntyre. Now, do you see that as being a headline for SummerSlam?
I say don't look through the weeds here. The marquee is already made. They just haven't turned the lights on yet.
It is.
And it's Cena versus Reigns. This is the match that we have to focus on. This is the one that's going to be the billing. This is going to be the inverse of Rock versus Cena 10 years ago. They're really going to play up this. It'll be interesting to see how different of a character Cena can be and what type of reactions he gets. I mean, if they bring him out July 16th in Houston, Texas, that first WWE television broadcast in front of an audience, if they bring him out there on that day, and they have not said, hey, John Cena's coming back this day, they're letting it go. WWE understands that you and I and many, many others are just at the rumor mill, hands on the wheel, just churning it, saying that John Cena and Reigns are coming back.
Don't say a thing. And
let it happen.
Just let it happen. Let us keep speculating. Let us keep talking about it because that's going to feed the anticipation. And once it happens.
And we saw this last night with building anticipation on WWE NXT, the debut of the Diamond Mine. You will be covering this in depth tonight on the debrief coming up at 7:30 Central, 8:30 Eastern. That debuts on our YouTube channels and all of our video channels. Go ahead and subscribe. Turn those notifications on. They're going to cover AEW and NXT. Big NXT this week. Very, very significant NXT. Seems like we have a real idea of where they are going for the summer here. And the Diamond Mine seems like it's going to be a big part of it. A new faction led by Roderick Strong has debuted. There was a lot of people thought maybe this would be the premiere of possibly, we were talking about this yesterday, possibly a WWE NXT's version of Raw Underground. We had heard that they had filmed some type of pilot like that. They had these vignettes of like people in a gym, and this is the Diamond Mine, and some big thing's going to come from the Diamond Mine. What do you think of this group that debuted last night on NXT?
Absolutely love it. Michael Bivens managing three of very, top superstars. You got Suzuki, you got Roderick Strong, and there was one more guy. I reported about this a little bit earlier today. But yeah, these guys came in hot, and it looks like they're going to be focusing more around the cruiserweight division, which is why Roderick Strong and Michael Bivens were both staring at the cruiserweight title at the end of the show. But yeah, man, I am absolutely loving what they're doing with Diamond Mine right now. The debut was great, taking out, a top guy like Kushida. So yeah, man, I thought it was great. Oh, Tyler Rust. So it's Tyler Rust, Hideki Suzuki, and Roderick Strong.
Tyler Rust been in the mix for NXT for quite some time. Actually was managed by Malcolm Bivens a handful of times, but then just kind of went back on the shelf. They have a lot of talent like that. There are a lot of guys and gals at the WWPC who have not been used on NXT that they have under contract that they haven't used, and they can bring them in for supporting roles and different things like this. And Tyler Rust can go. That guy can go. And Bivens is another hand, I think, in NXT. I'm going to say this right now for casual fans. He could be the next Bobby Heenan. He is such a personality. If you follow him on social media, he is extremely funny and really knows how to really dial up the characters that he backs as a manager. One of the very few managers in WWE. So to have that role, you really have to make your minutes work. And I do think he'll be. Yeah, it's an art form, and if the idea is to turn him into like the fight promoter and a modern day millennial Paul Heyman, if they go that way with this faction, it could be something different. They didn't say, "Hey, we're the Four Horsemen." It does have Four Horsemen-esque vibes, but treating them more as kind of like MMA, like the mixed martial arts bros in wrestling. It makes sense. They did that a little bit with Matt Riddle when he was in NXT, but they always treat him as kind of lighthearted surfer dude, like he's just a gym bro. Whereas these are the bullies from the football team. That's what these guys are. These are the bullies
the MMA
from the football
frats.
team. Yes,
the MMA frat guys.
Yes, that's the vibe that I think they're going with here. What do you think here? What is their future? They are not alone now as a faction in NXT. You also have the Hit Row group led by Isaiah Swerve Scott. I think that's group is interesting.
That is money right there. That is going to be your top. Give them a year. Those are going to be your top guys in NXT. Hit Row, Isaiah Swerve Scott, dude, all those guys. AJ Francis. Those guys are some talented. And I think AJ Francis used to play NFL. And dude, he's undefeated right now. Nobody can beat them. So I think Hit Row is going to be a household name come 2022. Just telling you right now of the vibe that I'm getting. But speaking of factions, NXT has tons of factions right now. So we got Hit Row, we got Legado del Fantasma, now we got Diamond Mine, and we got the Wwe. So we got tons of factions going on.
They're only doing this because AEW is filled with faction warfare, and this is just another example of the corporate structure at Stamford, Connecticut, by way of Florida, stealing the vision of the all-glorious TK. The all-glorious Tony Khan has described wrestling should be like the New Japan Pro Wrestling concept of fight clubs taking each other on in the Budokan. And they understand what this is. This is such an awful mistravesty. Vince.
God, you just love making fun of these guys, don't you?
It's fun.
I mean, you got that voice down to the teat where it's like believable. This is a travesty.
Neckbeard. Yeah, so that's what we're getting into. People want to know about this. We've had some call-ups this week before we sign off. Some call-up rumors here. NXT, we talked about the shakeup there. They have some pretty solid hands as their champions right now. Karrion Kross, Bronson Reed. Bronson Reed, the North American champion, Karrion Kross, the NXT champion. They had tryouts this week for the main roster, even though WWE's not in front of live audiences. Both guys performed a main event. WWE is kind of like, third tier, not exactly a brand, but they have matches, a lot of lower card talent work on that show. And notably, Kross and Reed were on this week's main event and won matches against Drew Gulak and Shelton Benjamin, respectively. There is talk that Kross and Reed are being eyed by WWE Raw and SmackDown officials for a potential call-up, including Scarlett, who could get her own separate tryout on main event. She has not wrestled a whole lot in WWE, so it'll be interesting to see what happens with Scarlett, the managing supporting character of Karrion Kross. What do you think of that move? I think it's a little bit too early. I think it's a little bit too early to pull them up here. I think NXT, that's the problem with NXT, though. Once you get hot in NXT, people are going to start talking about when you get pulled up.
Yeah, I think I have mixed feelings about this because on one hand, you have someone like Bronson Reed, who's absolutely killing it in NXT, but I don't think moving him up to the main roster is going to benefit him immediately. Whereas I think we're Karrion Kross. I mean, this guy's a traveled veteran. This guy looks ready. The guy looks the part. So I think Karrion Kross is probably a strong possibility. Mm-hmm. I just can't really point my finger on which brand he would be a better fit on.
Well, you have the draft coming up. And I know we were talking the draft earlier. I do think there's a possibility in the draft of a handful of NXT names to get thrown in the mix there. Don't think it'll be a full 3-brand draft and everyone get something from that. I don't even know if NXT would get anything from it. They're going to lose something from it. I think it's going to be more it than anything. And this could be a circumstance to bring one of those guys up. But is it? I mean, think about it. Kross has kind of gone through everybody. He beat everybody in that main event in definitive fashion, by the way. Definitive fashion, by the way. And I think it'd be interesting. Reed is the one that surprises me the most. Got a unique look. Reed is a big man who works a very unique style and comes off differently. The personality is there, but it hasn't super flourished, but he absolutely deserves the title right he's getting now with the North American strap.
Absolutely.
And I think WWE needs some new dynamic big men. If you see him come up and you're an Otis, you're a Big E, you're an Omos, you're those guys that are above in the 300 range, you're like, ooh, okay, got something to work with here. Got a fresh hand. So there is some, compelling things to it on paper. I'm not writing it off, but it'll be interesting to see where it goes. And maybe it's just a matter of, hey, let's get a look at you, but maybe it's not the time. And we'll figure out where you play in soon. Do your thing in NXT.
Yeah, completely agree. Absolutely.
All right. We will be back at it later on tonight with a big edition of the debrief covering the debut of the Diamond Mine, covering the new direction of AEW and where they are forging ahead. They have a lot of news. Hopefully they can get through the NBA playoffs. NBA playoffs are whopping wrestling right now, taking a big chunk out of their audience. And we'll be covering that and a whole lot more. So if you haven't done it already, I know we say it over and over, but we're near the plateau. 18,000 subscribers. We are just a few dozen away. If you know someone that loves wrestling, or maybe they're already watching wrestling stuff on YouTube, add us to your docket, put us in your playlist, all those different things. Go subscribe to the Sportskeeda Wrestling YouTube. We're going to be moving some of our shows exclusively there. We're still going to have our live streams Monday through Friday, all right? But we're going to have some exclusive things. All of our interviews with the biggest names in wrestling. We just interviewed Bobby Lashley last year. We've interviewed Drew McIntyre twice this year. Twice. All right, so we're going to have big access to big names from WWE and beyond. All of them are going to be over there. We just dropped an unscripted with Aiden English on there. All right, so definitely go check that out. A 31-minute interview with him talking about his run in WWE, fans asking questions. That is available right now on the Sportskeeda Wrestling YouTube. Also, Maybe you want to listen to stuff on demand. We're dropping all the audio in our podcast feed available on Spotify. Just search Sportskeeda Wrestling in your podcast app of choice. And if you have any issues with that, or hey, what's the app that's best for me? Don't be afraid to reach out to me, dude. Go ahead and get out to me on Twitter. My DMs are open. Hey, or like, let me know what you think of the show as well. Like, hey, I like this. This is really cool. And we're going to do we're possibly looking at doing some really cool watch along stuff this summer too. So for the diehards who are with us every single day, we want to see you on that old virtual couch, the virtual party and stuff like that. So a lot of fun things coming up in the summer ahead. We're going to get out of the house. We're going to film some cool stuff. We're going to have a good time this summer, and we hope you do too. Jose, you got a lot going on here tonight. We got Weekends of Wrestling tomorrow as well.
Yeah, I do. The debriefs tonight at 8:30 here on Sportskeeda Wrestling. Rico is going to be joining me tonight. We're going to be discussing what went down on NXT, and we're also going to talk about that very interesting MMA cage fight on AEW that went down last Friday. So we're going to be talking about both of those shows. And then tomorrow night on Weekends of Wrestling, Dan McShaw, the president and owner of Pro Wrestling Action, will be joining me to promote his show for this coming up Sunday, June the 27th in Sanford, Florida at Tuffy's Bar and Lounge, where the main event is going to be Cha-Cha Charlie, who happens to be a good a friend of Chris Jericho. Chris Jericho shouted him out a few months ago. And then he's going to be going up against Chico Adams, who's actually been featured on WWE Raw and Raw Underground. He's done some stuff on there. So it's going to be a great show on Sunday and a great show tomorrow with Dan McShaw. So tune in tomorrow.
Tune in. If you haven't done it, jump into the comments. We'll be in there after the show is done here live, but don't worry, you can enjoy it on demand. Remember, when watching wrestling, do the most important thing, which is what, Jose?
The most important thing is to enjoy wrestling.
We'll see you tomorrow.